Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to episode number 30 of the New Orleans Pelicans MyLeague series here on NBA 2K20. Last episode we covered the NBA draft part of the offseason, and today we're going to focus on free agency, the re-signing of players, the movement of players, and see where everybody lands up. We're going to start with team/player options, and we actually didn't have any this season. We had a couple big name free agents who decided to decline their options expectedly. Andre Drummond and DeMar DeRozan highlight this free agency class. But in terms of qualifying offers, we did extend one to Brandon Ingram because he is a restricted free agent and will be our big man we have to bring back this year. Take a look at the roster so far. Cole Anthony leads the point guards. They have a lot of shooting guards: Jrue Holiday, JJ Redick, Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Small forwards, Michael Porter Jr. is the only one currently, as Darius Miller will be released in a little bit. Power forwards are Zion Williamson and the rookie Reggie Perry, and then center Mitchell Robinson, Vernon Carey, and Jackson Hayes. For this all season, we really only had one big thing we wanted to address, and that was backup point guard. Wanted somebody to kind of mentor the young Cole Anthony and be a backup guy off the bench. But here are the list of the free agents topping the list: DeMar DeRozan, Andre Drummond, Harrell, and Paul Millsap. And we're going to take a look at the aforementioned point guards, as Reggie Jackson will highlight this point guard class. Not the most stellar at point guard, but let's start off with our big man, Brandon Ingram. He's got a 4-year, $90 million contract from the Raptors. So it's going to be a hefty penny if we want to bring back Brandon Ingram, which we kind of expected. So we will match that offer. Now on to the point guards. They had a couple options to look at. Goran Dragic is moving on from Miami now that they have drafted Nico Mannion. So Dragic is some guy we took a look at. He's got a couple of solid shooting badges that hopefully can mentor down to Cole Anthony. Eric Bledsoe, we looked at a couple trade options to see what teams selected point guards. Eric Bledsoe might be on the move now in Milwaukee. Patty Mills, another guy from San Antonio, but I don't think Greg Popovich is going to let go of Patty Mills ever in his lifetime. The Suns have a guy now they dropped to LaMelo Ball. Ricky Rubio would be a solid passer, a solid flashy man to draft or trade for. Jeff Teague's another option we looked at. A nice solid veteran, the former Atlanta Hawk and Minnesota Timberwolves. Got some good playmaking badges. He's got good passing stats as well as point guard, and he can score off the bench. Fred VanVleet, the former NBA champion, is a solid backup point guard as well from Toronto. He has hit the free agent market, and he's more of a shooter, as Teague was more of a passer. Then there's Darren Collison, who has a gold corner specialist badge, another veteran who could potentially mentor Cole Anthony. But we settled on Jeff Teague. I thought he might be the best option to play backup point guard, so we're going to offer him a 2-year contract worth $19 million with a team option for the second year. I thought that was a very fair contract considering what most backup point guards at his overall are getting nowadays. And after one stage, we are able to accept and match Brandon Ingram, but that would take us over the salary cap. So we had to do a little bit of adjustment if we both wanted Brandon Ingram and Jeff Teague. So we had to manipulate a little bit of the salary cap, get rid of some cap holes and some of the guys we weren't bringing back. This is where Boxing Legend Jr., I have to give him a shout out. He pops up in the comments. He was in the stream and he really helped me out with this part. So thank you, Boxing Legend. But back to Jeff Teague, he now has an offer from the 76ers for 3 years, $23.96 million. So we had to clear up some cap space if we wanted. This is where we get rid of Darius Miller. And then we took a couple look at the trade options for JJ Redick, see what is out there, because remember we wanted to move him last year, but nobody was really offering anything, and nobody's really offering anything now, surprisingly. Nobody really wants a 36-year-old JJ Redick at this stage of his career. So now we're back to Jeff Teague, since we were able to free up some cap space, giving him about the same offer, 2 years, $18 million. So with a little backloaded contract, and we're going to offer that to Teague, and he would accept that. So now we're able to sign Teague, and with that being said, we are going to renounce the rights of Jahlil Okafor. We're not going to bring back Jahlil Okafor, especially since we have Vernon Carey Jr. and Mitchell Robinson now at the 5 position. So another look at the free agent signings from around the league. The two big guys stayed put. DeMar DeRozan signed a 5-year, $173 million contract to stay in San Antonio. And the Pistons re-signed Andre Drummond to a 5-year, $151 million contract to stay in Detroit. Detroit wasn't done with that move, however. They also signed Zach Randolph to a 1-year contract. to provide some beef in their front court, as well as Andre Roberson, a nice solid wing defender. The former Thunder got a 2-year deal. And then also Elfrid Payton got a 2-year deal as they are moving on from Reggie Jackson, who we'll touch on in a second. He actually went to the 76ers, so since they missed out on Jeff Teague, the 76ers decided to bring in Reggie Jackson to potentially back up Ben Simmons. Milwaukee Bucks, who are looking to make some moves to get back to their prominence after a disappointing season, they brought Jabari Parker over on a 3-year contract from Chicago. Speaking of Chicago, they were the ones who brought in Montrezl Harrell on a 1-year deal worth $8.94 million. He will be paired with Kevin Love, remember, who was traded during the draft. And speaking of the Cavs, they were very busy this offseason. They signed young Josh Jackson to a 3-year, $31 million contract. Rodney Hood is back after a short stint in Portland on a 2-year, $14 million deal. And Serge Ibaka, the former Toronto Raptor and OKC Thunder, is also in Cleveland on a 3-year, $35 million contract. And then they were not done. They actually had a couple more signings. Malik Monk signed a 1-year deal after his unexpected ending in Charlotte. And then the world champion now from the Lakers, Dwight Howard, the big man, continues his journey around the league as he is stopping in Cleveland. Los Angeles Clippers looking to keep pace in the West. They brought in veteran Taj Gibson on a 2-year contract. The Atlanta Hawks, they were also busy as offseason. They brought in a pair of point guards to beef up their backcourt alongside Trae Young. Emmanuel Mudiay got a 2-year contract. And then Enes Kanter got a 3-year, $29 million contract. And the former Raptor, Fred VanVleet, who got moved on, signed a 3-year, $18.68 million contract. So the Hawks really trying to beef up that backcourt. And they rounded out by signing that all-star from last year, Marc Gasol, comes over from Toronto as well on a 2-year, $31.35 million contract. So the Hawks looking to make some moves here in the West behind their star in Trae Young. Charlotte Hornets, we saw them lose Malik Monk. They're going to bring in a pair of veterans to replace him. Paul Millsap comes in on a 2-year, $32.5 million contract. And they also bring in former Pelican Derek Favors. He will be in Charlotte this year. He will be missed, but he signed a 3-year, $37 million contract with Charlotte. Wasn't willing to give him that kind of money to return. The Jazz pick up former Magic member Nikolai Mirotic on a 3-year, $28 million year. He will help beef up that organization as they look to break through the ceiling in the West. And then another move, the Knicks, making Knicks signings. They brought in a pair of centers, DeMarcus Cousins and Hassan Whiteside, on 1-year prove-it deals. DeMarcus Cousins was on the Lakers last year and missed all of the season. Hassan was in Portland. And they also bring in Wesley Matthews on a 2-year, $9.84 million deal. Up next on free agency will be the defending champ Los Angeles Lakers. In order, the defending champs bring in Goran Dragic, so the Heat man, out and over to LA on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. Magic and lost Mirotic. They're going to sign Joe Harris to be his replacement on a 3-year, $26 million deal. And the Nuggets, they bring in Malik Beasley, 3 years, $28.17 million. So kind of like a move like the Jazz, looking to break through that ceiling in the West that is dominated by the LA teams at the moment. Raptors trying to get back to the championship. They're going to bring in Andre Iguodala, who just came off another championship win in Los Angeles on a 2-year, $14 million contract. Darren Collison replaces Fred VanVleet as the backup point guard on a 2-year, $11 million contract. And then stretch 4 Marvin Williams of Charlotte, the former number 2 overall pick, signs a 2-year deal as well. And then Carmelo Anthony continues his journey around the league on potential playoff teams. He will be in Toronto this season. Phoenix Suns, now they have LaMelo Ball, DeAndre Ayton, and Trevor Booker to build around. They bring in Bogdan Bogdanovic on a 3-year contract, as well as Willie Cauley-Stein from Sacramento on a 1-year, $7.68 million deal. And then around it out, we're going to end up in OKC, who bring in a pair of former Cavaliers. Tristan Thompson comes over on a 1-year, $8.04 million contract. And then Jordan Clarkson comes in on 2 years, $18.57 million. So that's going to rack up free agency. We weren't really big movers this free agency class, but take a look at our player progression. As we see, Jrue Holiday is going to start decreasing now that he's 30. Zion only goes up 2 overall points. His inside defense did get a jump. However, Michael Porter Jr., one of our biggest jumps, he jumped up 2 overall points and got better from the inside and mid-range. See Jeff Teague fall a little bit, and now Josh Hart has a minus 3-point potential, so that's very good for him. We'd like to see him stretch the floor more from the backup position. Nickeil Alexander Walker went down 2 points. That's kind of surprising since he is 21 years old. Hopefully that doesn't continue. But that's going to bring us to the end of the, sorry for that music in the background, of the end of the offseason and free agency. Not making a ton of moves, but we did bring in Jeff Teague. Next episode will be the Summer League, so make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below for that. And this is Mr. Rob, and I'm saying class is dismissed.